Very welcome to the Women's Rugby Pod. I'm Johnny Hammond and another brilliant show for you today. We've called it Front Row Union because we've got two front rowers on the pod. We've got Lana Skeldon, Worcester and Scotland hooker, after just being announced in the Scotland Six Nations squad. She's going to talk about that squad and the changes, the turning of the page after a World Cup. And we've got Liz Crake, who has been through a torrid time with Wasps, but only recently just announced in Simon Middleton's Six Nations squad. We speak to her about the highs and lows of the last few months. And of course, we'll have all the news from around the world. And first up, we're going to go to France. They've named their Six Nations squad. Audrey Forlani is captain after the second row missed out on the World Cup. Opportunities for new faces like Grenoble pair Leah Campon, Ambre Mwembe, and potential starting fly half Lilo Gastier of Lyon. No Medusa Fall or Romain Manager, both injured for the campaign, to go alongside a lot of those players who retired at the end of last year. Italy, like France, said goodbye to plenty of great servants, Bertoni and Forlani. Not to mention Andrea Di Giandomenico after the World Cup. Elisa Giordano leads the 36-player squad. New coach Giovanni Ranieri names 8 uncapped players, but still huge experience in the ranks with Sarah Baratin, Chiara Franco, and everybody's favourite, Beatrice Rigoni. To Scotland then, they announced their squad. Doc Rachel Malcolm, friend of the pod, will lead the side again. 7 newcomers, 5 of which shone in those Celtic League games. Erin Foley, Eamon Turner, Rhea Clark, Francesca McGee and Holly McIntyre, as well as call-outs of Beth Blacklock of Harlequins and the former under-20s captain Fiona Cooper. Many people keeping an eye on her. They may well have welcomed back Evie Gallagher, who missed the World Cup, of course, through injury, but will be without the likes of Jade Conkle-Roberts, Jenny Maxwell, Molly Wright and Sarah Bonner for large chunks of the tournament. New faces in the coaching box too. Martin Haag is looking after the forwards, while ex-Sevens coach Chris Laidlaw will have his eyes on the attack. Enough of me talking about it. Let's speak to a lady who's been a mainstay of that Scotland squad for many years now, Lana Skeldon. It's an absolute pleasure on the WRP to have Lana Skeldon, the Worcester and Scotland hooker. Lana, how are we?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, don't be silly. You're fully branded up there. Well done, on message. Me and the team will be pleased. Where are you? You're still in camp now, are you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm in the team hotel tonight. We've been training this week, which has been pretty good. So yeah, still here for tonight. Good
week under the belt. Some new faces. Look, let's go straight into Scotland. The Six Nations is dawning upon us. So just been sort of ramping up for that, have you really?
Yeah, like you say, we've got some new faces and coaches and players, which has been really exciting, really refreshing. But yeah, just building it up each week. Looking forward to getting the Six Nations started next week. But yeah, we feel like we're in a good place, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You say you got some new faces in the coaching structure. Chris Laidlaw, what's he bringing to the party?
He brings a lot of energy and a lot of knowledge. I really enjoy the way he coaches, if I'm honest. He's very, very upfront, very to the point, that's what I like. But for Scotland, it's really good because it's a fresh set of eyes, and I think it's really important for us to move forward. Like we needed some fresh stuff in there, and he's definitely bringing that. He's doing a real good job.
And Martin Haag, some of the best hands in rugby.
Yeah, he's
great big mitts, isn't he? Bath fingers.
I know. He gave me like a fist pump today, and I was like, "Whoa, his hands are huge." Oh. But yeah, no, he's great.
Big
as
heart
well.
too.
Like,
big heart.
Yeah, he brings a lot of calmness. It's good. He brings a lot of calmness to the camp, and he's very good at pushing the players to drive the standards and stuff, which is really good. So yeah, really exciting to have him on board as well.
You know, he's a proper rugby guy. A lot of time for Martin Haag. Is it kind of off the back of, because I can sit back here and review Scotland's last 12, 18 months, World Cup and what have you, and I suppose the defining bit is those games that have gone the wrong side of 7 points and changing that to the other side. And in the World Cup review, it's something. What are the bits you've identified? Possibly fresh voices, perhaps that was just a coach's review, but a set of players, if you sat down and looked at that World Cup and said, these are the bits we need to just polish up a little bit.
Yeah, I think like the World Cup, obviously, like you say, the results didn't quite go our way in the first two games. And I think for us, like, we're trying to build and move forward. So we kind of had a look at ourselves and we're like, okay, what have we improved on over the last 12 months? Okay, so for me personally, obviously being a forward, like, we felt like the set piece was good. But it's how we take it to the next level. So, like I said, Martin's really keen on the players leading their own development, if you want to hear it that way. So he's been really good at that, which is kind of allowing us to reflect and see the sort of 1%ers that we can get better at. So as a forward pack, anyway, that's kind of what we're focused on, is just really driving that standard and taking our set piece to the next level. But yeah, as a team, I think it's just closing out those games, to be honest, like, because we're in it. We're so in it. It's ridiculous. We're so in it. So yeah, I think that's what the focus will be for the next 8 weeks in the Six Nations. It's really getting after those results that I personally feel like we deserve, and yeah, that we're working hard towards, to be honest.
It might be a slightly obvious point, but possibly therefore obvious question, but it's the end of a World Cup cycle. You're going to a new one, but yeah, I alluded to the last 12, 18 months. Your group have been through a hell of a lot, and that's certainly not something we're going to get into now, but just for various reasons gone through a lot. Is it sort of a bit of a line in the sand? Can you say some fresh faces in that squad? Okay, you've got some serious injuries as well to some key players, but some fresh faces, new coaches, bit of line in the sand, right? And on we go now.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like, we had a pretty big sort of 12 to 18 months with a lot of things on and off the pitch, but ultimately that just brought us tighter as a group, which is like fantastic. But yeah, like you say, like, kind of at the end of a World Cup cycle, ready to start a new one, like you said, putting a line in the sand and giving people these opportunities, whether that's coaches or players. And I think that sometimes injuries can be frustrating, but it also allows another player to get an opportunity and for us to create some depth as well, which I think is really important for us moving into this next cycle, is creating that depth in our squad, which is something that has been very evident to me over the last few weeks anyways, that there is players coming through and it's really good to see. So yeah, like, I think for us it is about hitting a reset button and going again almost, which is, it's really exciting to be part of, and everyone seems really up for it and training and stuff, which is cool.
I spoke about one of the injuries. Molly Wright is sadly not going to be there for a lot of the tournament. Sarah Bonner is going to struggle certainly the first few rounds and what have you. Tell us about some of the exciting new forwards coming through, Lana. You've got a few miles on the clock now. You're one of the experienced, mature players. Have I put that nicely enough?
You have.
Just good. Who are some of the young bucks coming through that they're going to shine in the Six Nations for you?
So it's really hard because we have a lot of exciting players. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, there's a lot of players waiting there just to get their opportunity. But for me, I'll focus on the forwards because it's probably easier.
Yeah, I heard about some of the centres already. So stick to the forwards.
Yeah, for me, Anne Young, she's been playing at Sale Sharks. She moved there when we came back from the World Cup, and what a fantastic move that's been for her. She's been around the squad since 2019, but she's just never really gotten that opportunity. So she's been training hard in the background. Like, she's been an incredible person for our squad over the last few years, but now she's really going to get an opportunity to show what she's all about, and I'm sure she's going to shine. But like I say, she went to Sale Sharks, so that's definitely pushed her on. And in training in the last few weeks, she's been outstanding, and the improvement in her has been incredible. So really excited to see her go. Obviously she'll be at loosehead prop, so she'll be hopefully next to me, which is cool. And also kind of came through last year a bit. Evie Gallagher, she played really well in the Six Nations last year. Unfortunately got injured just before we went out to the World Cup, which was disappointing for her, but she's an incredible talent, and hopefully that's her on a good path now away from the injury. So hopefully you can see a lot of her, and she's still very young, and I'm excited to see her go. And then I suppose for me, we've got a young hooker up and coming, which is cool. Ellis Martin. Ellis Martin has been down at DMP the last few months, which has been great for her. Again, she's been unfortunate with injury, but she's came into the squad last summer, trained with us last summer, and was at the World Cup. Unfortunately, didn't play, but she is an exciting talent and someone that I'm hoping to take under my wing, and any wisdom I've got, I will give to her. Not that there's much of it, but I'll give what I've got.
You do yourself a good service.
So those three for me are the ones that are really exciting. I mean, there is lots of others. The list could go on, but for me at the moment, those three are the ones that I'm really excited to see how they get on in the Six Nations, and hopefully you'll see a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I spoke to Rachel Taylor not so long ago, and yeah, she was singing the praise of Anna Young in the front row. So yeah, we look forward to seeing her go. And we talk about the Premiership clubs there. We'll just move seamlessly from international to club. You're playing at Worcester at a really wholesome environment. We spoke just before we came on about Jo Yapp and our fondness of her, joint fondness of her, playing some pretty good rugby down there. Certainly things are definitely building. It's a fairly young squad in amongst some more experienced players. You contracted up at Scotland. You must be enjoying your rugby life at the minute, mustn't you?
Yeah, it's like I'm in a very fortunate position, if I'm honest. Like it is literally living the dream. Like it's literally my dream is to play rugby as a job, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to do that. But also, like you say, like being at a club like Worcester, it's a family away from home essentially. It's a very wholesome club. I've met some very, very good people there. And like you were saying, Jo Yapp she's an incredible person, and I'm just so grateful to be coached by her, to be honest.
Yeah, no, she's good. I mean, we take away the victory. Sorry, the loss in the last round. Pretty heavy one against Gloucester Harbury, wasn't it? But it just gives us a sense of the feeling so far. I mean, I think we've spoken quite a lot on this pod about the trajectory of Worcester. It's sort of going up, but you've had again, just a hell of a lot to deal with off the field. Are the batteries recharged? Because that's emotionally and physically, mentally, that's hugely draining, I'm sure, going through what Worcester as a club have been through. Do you feel the kind of batteries recharged now and you sort of kick on post Six Nations after this, crazy 6-week break, whatever it is?
Yeah, I think like ultimately it's been a real tough time for the club, and obviously very fortunate to have people like Jo Yapp who's there to fight for us, and others within the club as well, of course. But I think you're right. Like obviously we have had a few defeats recently that we've not been happy about, of course we're not, but I think we are building towards something really quite special next season or the season after. You can't put a time on it, but like you say, a very young team, and I think like we are heading towards something good. But yeah, I think like the batteries will be getting recharged at the minute. I think being away on international, like being able to come back to club and bring like a slightly different energy, like for people that have been there throughout the whole season. Like I think it's a good blend of coming in and out. It's quite good. But yeah, for sure, I think everyone's in a real positive mindset around like next season in particular. Like we look to finish the season strong, but like next season is what we're building towards, and just putting those foundations in and building that confidence so we can really hit the ground running next season.
So excited for the Prem 15s or whatever it may be called.
Who knows?
Next season, there's a lot of exciting things going on. I can promise you that tonight. It's brilliant stuff. Can you envisage then that the club game has moved on to even more professionality in terms of remuneration as well?
I'd like to hope so. I think like the steps that have been made over the last 3 or 4 years even has been incredible, and I think if we just keep going on that trajectory, we'll get there. But yeah, it's really exciting. Like I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5 years, but I'm just so buzzing to be part of it.
Brilliant. Yeah, your energy is infectious. It's late in the evening, and I hugely appreciate your time. But it's been a long day here at Chateau Hamo, and you've totally enthused me now, Lana. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. We'll leave it there. Really appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you in the Six Nations, ripping it up as ever. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed watching you over the years. And thanks once again for your time.
Absolutely no bother at all. Thanks for having me.
I am Sophie DeGoody, and you are listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Great to hear from Lana there. She's talking about that Worcester result from the weekend. Let's get into the Premier 15's results from last weekend. Goslar Harbury 15, Worcester 12. We spoke of that with Lana. Wasps went down 12 tries at Loughborough. Lightning scored 5 points to 70. TMP shipped 13 tries as well in a 73 loss to Saracens. Some lovely tries in there. Jess Breach hitting some nice form, isn't she, at the moment? Exeter, another bonus point for them even before half time. 52-14 against Sale. And the really tight one is Bristol Quins, wasn't it? Bristol 31, Harlequins 26, 75th minute try by Sarah Byrne for that one. All that means is that Exeter and Gloucester Hartbury have qualified for the semi-finals already. And then it's a 3/4. Mathematically, Worcester can still qualify for those quarter-finals. But realistically, it's those teams in 3, 4 and 5. So Saracens 55 points, Bristol 46, Harlequins 42 and Worcester on 30. Fascinating. 4 fixtures after the league returns post Six Nations. Results from Spain, the Division d'Honneur. It's playoff time in the top 6. Valladolid won again, 45 points to 17 over Santa Boyana, keeping them at the top of the table. Sevilla overcame El Salvador 28-7. The league now takes a break for a week. Last round of the round robin stages in New Zealand, the Super Rugby Aupiki. Chiefs made it 3 from 3 with a 46-38 win over Matatu, while the Hurricanes Pua went down to the Blues who won 22-31. That was their first win of the campaign. This week in the semi-finals of the North Bay Stadium in Albi, North Auckland, remember the stadium from the World Cup, Matatu take on the Blues, and the favourites Chief Manawa go head to head with the Hurricanes Pua. Then it's the finals week after that in Waikato. Well, we just mentioned the Premier 15s then. Now we get the privilege of speaking to a lady who has really spearheaded, just kept everything together, what has been an incredibly difficult season for Wasps. Well, many clubs, in fact, in the Premier 15s. Wasps, Worcester, Sale, DMP, but Wasps no longer part of the Premier 15's plans going forward. How they managed to pull their socks up and get out of the park every week, I have no idea. But Liz Crake is going to tell us all about it, and also some ups in the last 12 months as well, as she was named in the Red Roses Six Nations squad. Here's the Queen Wasp herself. Liz Crake, awesome to have you on the pod. Wasp and now Red Rose squad members, certainly. We can say that from years ago as well. How are you? You're up there in camp. Big smile on your face. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. It was literally last minute, kind of called in on Monday afternoon. So a bit of a different week than I expected. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind. So it's good.
Lots coming at you, I'm sure. The line-out noises and all the rest of it, and no doubt are boring off at late into the evening. But is it as brilliant? And just how cool is it? Oh, what should I put on this morning? Oh, I just put on that Red Roses top. No, I'll just put on that Red Roses top. Oh, I put that training top on. How cool is it, really?
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm actually quite superstitious, so I've never like I don't wear England kit because, or like, you know, when they've donated it at training and you get a spare like top from an ex-player or something, I've never worn it because I feel a bit like superstitious that it might not happen for me. So it's nice to be able to wear it and be like, feel like I've earned it a little bit. I took a little selfie and sent it to my partner just to like prove that I was wearing it. But yeah, it's I mostly just wear what my roommate's wearing so that I know I'm in the right stuff.
Because there's a lot going on, isn't there? I mean, I've been privy once. I don't know. I should admit this or not, but to the spreadsheet and Mike. I mean, the colours. It's extraordinary. Have you been mucking up at all? You've been getting to all the meetings on time, eating the right stuff, all the rest of it.
Yeah, I think luckily I'm quite organized. I'm quite paranoid, more so than organized. So I just check it like 50 times a day and follow everyone around.
And is there, you know, because people say, and people watching the men's Six Nations, aren't they? And Jono, who, I mean, I hang on every word that Jono says, but he was talking about that just a different level from club rugby to international level. Is there that in training as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I suppose this season I'm coming from a slightly different like setup and such because of like the Wasp situation anyway. So you know, we can't do 15 on 15 bone on bone because we just don't have the numbers. And so going into camp, that was a bit like, oh gosh, okay, here we go, like this is the real deal kind of thing. And it is just, you playing 15 on 15 against like all the players you don't want to tackle in the Prem. So it's like, okay, this is real. So yeah, 100% a massive step up.
Who's one to avoid? Because there's always one in training that doesn't possibly mean to, but there's elbows and there's knees, and you know the physios get a lot of side work from the way that they train. Who are the people to avoid?
Do you know,
it's unfair, isn't it? Because you've just gone in and you're now going to say this, and they may listen to this, might they? Come on, they won't mind. Marley Packer won't mind. Oh, sorry.
I mean, she's like intense, like in everything. Like she puts so much into it. So, yeah, I don't want to be running into her, definitely. But it's the same with any of them. Like they're all here because they're great rugby players, and yeah, it hurts.
And what's the general mood in camp? Have there been set kind of? There've been days for defence, days for attack. Has there been a slightly different emphasis? Have there been a look? Let's do this slightly different to what we were doing last year, or is it kind of almost like a clean slate and away you go for this Six Nations?
Yeah, so I don't actually really know like what they were doing last year. So
no, of course not. But
I think from what I've gathered, they're changing up slightly how they do like their contact sessions and things like that. But it was like yesterday was a lot of kind of getting the calls and the line outs and focusing on that. And then today is like your kind of full Bosch session. So gym session in the morning, some line out, scrum, collision stuff, and then lunch, and then like full Bosch in the afternoon. So intense. I think tomorrow is a little bit more laid back. There's a bit more kind of meetings and recovery going from there. And then I haven't looked at Friday, so
no, one day at a time. And if you've been doing that from the beginning of the week, don't start mucking that around now. And then and then is it home for the weekend, and then back into camp?
So yeah, I'm not sure yet. So I know Wasps have still got a cup game this weekend, and I'm coming back from injury still. So I had my first kind of 20 minutes back last weekend just gone. So hopefully I'll still get some game time this weekend, and then yeah, fingers crossed they'll ask me back for next week. So I don't know yet.
Look, I spoke to Tom Middleton when he announced the squad, and we were talking about players, and yeah, he sort of some very positive words about you. He said he's always had his eye on you as a back row, and I moved to the front row. How did that come about? I mean, it's an obvious move for people like myself. It's the only place to play in the front row. But how did it come about, and just how much better is it than the back row?
Yeah, it's basically back in the kind of COVID year where we were still allowed to play as like an elite league. But obviously they changed the rules with scrums, so you're supposed to have a lot less scrums in the game. and LJ and Giselle kind of like called me and were like, look, we basically want to get as many back row on the field. There won't be many scrums, don't worry about it. Like, we just want to put basically 1 to 8 players who can play back row, essentially, or act like back row. And then I think our first game, there was like 10 or 15 scrums, and I was there like, what are we doing? But yeah, it's been good fun. Like, it's a big learning curve. It's a lot more technical than you kind of realize, that there's so many things to remember, like your foot placement, like your bind, and then like you got to fight with your head this way, but you got to push off the other leg, and like all these other things. And it's killer, but it's been really good. It is good. It's like sorry, it's just some camp people. It's the only part like in it.
I'm on a podcast already, just week 1. Yeah, media. Sorry, media.
No, it's because I'm literally just staring straight at them and talking when they're walking past, and I feel like, but yeah, I always say it's like, what I quite like about it is that it's like one of the only positions in, like, as a front row player, it's the only position in the pitch where you actually just are completely, I mean, I suppose you've got the rest of the scrum, but it's kind of is a one-on-one battle with your opposite prop, and no one's got a run up or is potentially going to be faster than you. It's literally like, are you going to beat me? And I'm very competitive, so that's a good one for me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, outside of combat sports, I mean, there's not much more gladiatorial in the world of sport, is there, than front rows going at it. I think you talk about what's there, and I wanted to bring on the pod because utterly deserve the England call up, and hopefully we'd see you into the Six Nations and what have you. But also just wanted to touch on Wasps, but also wanted to start with the positive. It's been desperately hard, I'm sure. Where are you at with it all, with the in terms of your head? Because do you know what happens come June to the club and what have you, and the side?
No, not really. I think my concern, I suppose, with the club is that because the men, like, we're, as Wasps women, kind of trying to like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, ally with the men.
Align,
and
yeah.
The FC that have supported us so far are going to have like an amateur team, but it was always the plan that at this point they were going to not necessarily step aside, because they've supported us so much this season, but that was supposed to be the pathway, that we were supposed to move to Coventry, play at the Rico and do all those things. And obviously I know with the men, like, their all their statements and everything, and the things that they've spoken to us about, is that they're still committed to having like a women's side. I assume because last time there was the retendering, like Waterloo, Richmond, they went down into champ, so I'd assume we'd go into champ. But at the minute, I think that all depends on whether the men can get their kind of ducks in a row and sort like a men's champ team, a place to stay, like the finances and all those kind of things. And I think from our understanding so far, that's still, it's still kind of here and there. And I don't know, to be honest. It's not, at this point, it's not something, like, it upsets me because the club has been is so legendary, and I've been there for 9-10 years, and I think it's the first time since 1985 that, like, there won't be a Wasps women's team in the Premier, in like top flight rugby in the women's games. So that's like a real shame for the name and for the brand and everything. But for myself and the girls, I know that our focus solely, because we know that we're no longer in the Prem 15s next year, our focus is getting through this rest of the season, enjoying it, and setting ourselves up for wherever we move on to next. So whether, obviously for myself, I want to stay in Prem, so it's looking at other clubs around that are in Prem, like other girls as well still want to be there. Some might want to play in champ, some might look that way. So I actually think the mood's really good, because we're not it's happened, we can't change it. and we just want to play rugby, and that's what we're here for, and we want to do ourselves and the club proud as much as we can for this last few, like the last run in. So I actually think most of us are in a pretty good headspace with it, because what else can we do, really? It doesn't really change our remainder of the season. So
yeah, control the controllables. There's so much in there that I'd like to pick out, but I can even hear the pain in your voice, and I know whenever I've been to Wasps and spoken to Waspies, your name is always spoken about in very high terms and high admiration. Where have you found the strength? Because I suspect there'll be a lot of young players leaning on you. 133 appearances for the club. LJ, and what have you? Probably looking to you for some leadership. Where have you found the strength to get up every week, knowing that the side opposite you, 23 against 23, you're second best?
I think I kind of made the decision quite early on that I was going to stay, and we had quite a bit of players that were kind of staying, and then kind of made decisions as more stuff happened to leave, which well within their rights. But I just remember sitting there and being like, well, what else am I going to do? Because if I move clubs and I leave, you're trying to cement yourself in a new team. And obviously this was the goal, like getting to England has always been the goal for me. So I'm thinking, okay, yes, I'm a prop, so props are always needed, but are you going to get good game time in order to be able to say, put your hand up? So for me, that was my reasoning, that I was like, I think I kind of tried to back myself in saying that I learn best in game time, which means I need as many minutes at the weekend to play. And if that's, if we're getting, like, obviously our results, like if we're getting pumped, like that's fine. But if I can play, 70, 80 minutes as a front row player, I'm putting so many opportunities for me to put my hand up and say, this is what I can do, and I can do it for 80 minutes or things like that. So that's kind of the decision that I made quite early, that if I was going to stay, I had to really knuckle down and deal with it. And I also quite early on said to LJ, like, okay, I want to be captain. If I'm staying, I'm going to be the captain, because it kind of forces you to lead by example and do those things. So I think it was just an attitude of, well, this is it, and you got to make the best of the situation that you're in, I think. But luckily I've got like a lot of leaders there, like, and so many people have stepped up. So obviously we've got Hannah Edwards, who's been there longer than me. She was the reason that I joined Wasps. She got me down there. So she's a fantastic leader and really helpful person to have around to help me. Helen, who's been captaining while I've been injured, is just fantastic, and she's again really stepped up. But we've also got newer players, so like Fee Cooper, who's just been called into the Scotland squad. She started off kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get in the team kind of thing, and obviously in my head I'm like, well, we don't have many players, babe, so you're playing. And she's gone from being relatively not shy but quiet, to being like absolutely one of our leaders on field as well. So luckily I don't have to just like rely on my own strength. I've got strength of those around me as well.
You're lovely speaking to you. You're the proper rugby person. You're talking about your teammates there, and your entire face just lights up. And considering, when you pull that Wasp shirt on, you know it's going to be a tough afternoon at the office. Whatever the result, and the joy when you score your tries and what have you. But just one more question on the Waspies, and I must let you go, because no doubt Mids and Deacon have got you up at the crack of dawn tomorrow morning, lifting tires or running through the snow like Rocky or something. Do you feel, you touched on it slightly, but some players leaving, and at the moment the men's side of the club is very solitary by itself, and there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of linkage, and I'm not sure there possibly ever has been, and the players and whatever and going. And yeah, I just go to that mantra of once a wasp, always a wasp. Do you feel a little bit let down, and possibly that's stoked the fires a little bit more?
I think I'll try and be like diplomatic, because like the thing is, I can completely understand their reasoning, because obviously I was making those decisions at the same time as well. So some players, we couldn't afford visas. None of us are paid now. So there's players who relied on that income for their life. Like you can't be mad at that. And some players like made decisions because they were looking to try again for international camps, and for them that WASP environment wasn't going to be conducive for their learning and their ability to kind of push for those spots. And in your heart, because I was the captain at that point, like it's my club, and my club's like falling apart around me right early on, and it was worrying and it's stressful. And obviously at the time you're really gutted, and it does hurt and it does sting. But I think now that the wound's not so fresh, like it doesn't, I can understand it. And like they're thriving in those, like those players are thriving in those new environments as well. So like they've made the right decision for them, and that's great. And we've made do, like we're fine. Like actually, I know, when our results aren't great, but like actually we've been fine. We've done all right, and we've done what we've set out to do. So at the time, yeah, it hurts, and you do want to be mad at them, but like they are still Wasps, and they have like been in the shirt and done done it proud as well. So I think we're all still amicable, but it did sting.
Lovely use of the word sting. Very good. It wasn't lost on me. No, look, we leave that there. And I just felt for you guys that to have stayed there and stuck. And as you say, you're taking on water, and you've got a thimble to try and to try and bail it out. And I just felt for you. And there's, oh, they've gone. This has gone. Oh, that's. I just massively felt, and I just wanted to. Yeah, a lot of people have asked that question, so I wanted to relay that. Where are you going to be in 10 years' time? What do you want to have achieved on your own spreadsheet?
Oh, I mean, an England cap. That's been on there for a long time. That's basically the only thing that's like on the list. So yeah, first and foremost, that I think I didn't realise that kind of captaining was something that I was keen to do until, as I said, the opportunity was there. So I'm glad I can tick that off now. I think again, with anything, you want to leave things better off than when you join them. I definitely don't have 10 years of rugby left in me. So like outside of that, I've got, some career ambitions. I want
Sarah Hunter's 58 years of age. What on earth are you talking about?
No, but she's not front row.
Oh, right, okay.
So just things like that. I think my sole focus at this point is trying to prove myself enough that I can get on that field and play in the shirt. So outside of that, it's just progressing my career, like outside of rugby, have a nice family, hopefully. And yeah, I think that's about it.
How lovely. I'm astonished. Really lovely to speak to you. It really has been a real pleasure. And considering that's been the drive to get to this England camp and to have done it through the incredibly choppy waters, and credit to the England management for looking right across the piece for the pieces that fit their jigsaw correctly. And you should be incredibly proud of getting to where you've got to. And yes, all the best for that cup. So that cap, I should say. And I look forward to seeing that smile. Fingers crossed when it does happen. But thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm Rocky Clark, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Well, that's about it for another week. Next week, Big old week, isn't it? Start of the Six Nations. We're going to have multiple pods for you. Yeah, we're going to go to town next week, talking to captains, coaches, journalists, all the rest of it. Multiple pods, as we say, those plans all coming together. But just remains for me to do a couple of little shout-outs. Big shout-out to Amy Cockayne, 50 appearances for Harlequins. Scored a try to crown it all. Georgie Perez-Redding, 50 up for Sale Sharks. Well done to you. What a couple of years it has been for all action flanking, now involved in international rugby, of course. The lady who's been involved in international rugby for the last 10 years or so is Jessie Tremoulier, one of the finest talents in women's rugby. She's calling a time on her career after the Six Nations. A mercurial talent. Merci pour le souvenir, Jessie. Huge thanks to Tom, to Vicky, to my guests Liz and Lana, the Front Row Union, doing it strong. And just to mark your card, 28th of April, Friday, ahead of that final round of Six Nations games, we are doing a live show from the Cabbage Patch in Twickenham. Keep an eye on our socials for all the details. Enjoy your weekend of rugby. Stay safe, be kind. See you next week.